Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. This video is going to be a little bit off the cuff. Um, I have been thinking about objective personality, and I've had a few conversations over the last couple weeks with people about why I believe so deeply in objective personality, the objective personality system. It is much of the framework of this channel, Resonance. And I think the objective personality system gives us a lot of insight into compatibility, which is one of the main topics of this, this channel. So I just wanted to take a video to talk about why I believe so deeply in objective personality and how it kind of came into my world, what I see for it going forward. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, hopefully this will give you some insight into a little bit about what it is and why it's so powerful in the personality community and just personality space in general. So I discovered objective personality toward the end of my marriage. I was married for 10 years, and my ex and I were in therapy. We were trying to figure out our relationship, and I was trying to learn more about her and learn about me and just our dynamic. I'm an analytical mind. I want to figure things out. I want to understand how things work. Big surprise, I'm an ISTP, so I wanted to know why it wasn't working. My ex appreciated this too because she's a thinker type as well. So she wanted to know, how it could work better as well. So anyways, I came across some of Objective Personality's videos, just looking for Myers-Briggs typology information on what I perceived my ex-wife's type to be and what I perceived mine to be. And was just watching videos and came across OPS. And the videos, I could tell right away that they were more in depth than most of the other Myers-Briggs videos that I was watching. They were a lot clearer as far as personality specifics, and so that drew me in really quickly. So I started consuming objective personality content. This was back around 2019. And obviously I got typed. I got my ex-wife typed. And the clarity that being typed by Dave and Shan gave to me and my understanding of our relationship dynamics was so powerful that I just couldn't ignore it. It was, objective personality was so real in bringing clarity and understanding to my experience in 10 years of marriage that we ended up divorcing about 2 years later, that I just had to keep looking at it. And it's funny because the story for Dave and Shan is somewhat similar. When they started Objective Personality, they weren't able to type objectively early on, as far as how they've told the story. But the impactfulness of typology on their ability to market in Dave's old RC business hit so deeply with them they couldn't let go of it, and so they had to keep digging. And I really resonate with that because seeing the patterns between my ex-wife and I, and how the OPS clarified those, drew me in a similar type of way to where I just had to keep digging and understanding more to see, does this help me see reality clearer, right? And that's the really fun part about objective personality, is the whole premise of it is that none of us sees objective reality. We are subjective beings by definition, right? And so if we want to see things objectively, we have to start viewing them from a more collective perspective, from the view of multiple people. And what's amazing about Dave and Chan is they sat for long enough and questioned their subjective perspective of the world by triangulating types with each other. They went in separate rooms so they couldn't influence one another, and they couldn't consistently land on the same type early on. And basically all they were demonstrating, in the world of psychology, we call it naive realism. The idea that we naively assume that everyone experiences the world exactly the way that we do. And so if you're assuming that, typology should be easy, because if we can just agree on a couple of terms and then go in separate rooms, we'll get the same type. Well, it wasn't that easy, because the way that we experience the world is very different. And so OPS has the right premise, which is that self-assessing tests can't really get us out of our subjective box. They just double down on it. They double down on our subjectivity. And so whatever we see ourselves as, or whatever we understand, who we are relative to the rest of the tribe to be, is what we're going to answer questions in alignment with, and therefore the results are just going to mirror back our subjectivity to us. So it doesn't really do anything. It keeps us naive, essentially. And so this is what is appealing about objective personality to me. It may not be a perfect system. Dave and Chan are certainly not perfect, and they don't claim to be. But relative to anything else that we have in the psychology space around typology, it's the best we got. And there hasn't been any other system that has really aimed at the same level to do what objective personality has done. So that, combined with just the clarity that it gave to me in my 10-year relationship, and many relationships after that, dating relationships, I have just continued to go further down this rabbit hole of, oh my God, we don't see ourselves. We really don't see ourselves. And to really verify that something is legit, scientifically, we got to test it in the real world, right? And there's a lot of different ways to do this. Obviously, you could do it in a lab. But I'm a very, very practical thinker. And so I have been testing OPS in my own life for the last 7 years. And I have to say, it continues to be reliable, a reliable and valid assessment of how I fit in with other people, what I'm afraid of, what my weaknesses are. I have noticed that when I work on those weaknesses, the universe bends in my favor financially, in relationships with other people, in my spirituality and understanding of the world. And the list is just endless. Now, that doesn't prove objective personality in the sensory world, but it is for me individually, subjectively, why it resonates, because it works. It works. It works to give me the life I want to have, which is a life of deeper awareness, a life of more happiness, a life with better relationships and more clarity around relationship dynamics. It's made me a more loving person, because even with my ex-wife, just as a reference point, it's very easy in a box of naive realism to just make other people bad people when they're not like us. Because we biologically assume everyone should process the world the way that we do, and when they don't, our nervous systems react And objective personality helps you see that everybody is doing the same thing. We're just doing it a little bit differently. And so from the perspective of cosmic consciousness and love and awareness, you can look at another person, you can realize that they don't resonate with your body and your nervous system, and you can still love and accept them as a different expression of universal consciousness. So objective personality, this might be a leap to say, it's made me a more loving person because I can look at my ex-wife, I can look at all my different kids' personalities, my 3 boys, I can look at my friends, and I have such a deep understanding now of what their body and their nervous system is doing, and I can just smile and appreciate who they are. It's pretty amazing. Instead of unconsciously requiring that everyone see the world like I do. And that is the biggest, most impactful part of objective personality for me, and why I continue to dig in and just think that it's an incredible resource for so many reasons. So those are the things that are top of mind for me. As far as future directions for objective personality is still very conceptual. In the world of functions, we would call it NI. OPS is still very NI. There's not a lot of SI, there's not a lot of sensory, at least proving these types. I wrote my master's thesis on OPS and the nervous system, but it didn't really take it out of NI land. Because to do that, we would really need to test hormones, monitor heart rate, and really get the physical sensory data going on these 9 coins. Right now, it's intuitive, but it is still circular, which is okay. That doesn't disprove it. But we do need sensory data. And that's something I'm excited about. The future of ops is starting to see the sensory data. But here's the cool part. Because the consistency of typing someone an objective personality is based on fear. Fear is the most consistent measure of the human psyche and what Dave and Shan have used to type people consistently in ops, which makes sense because it gets down to the nervous system level. So there's no reason when we start testing this in a lab or testing cortisol spikes or adrenaline spikes or whatever, when these certain 9 coin stressors are put to the test, that we wouldn't see what Dave and Shan are already seeing. Intuitively, we know we will, right? But for all you sensors out there, and I'm one of them, we will need the data eventually. And that's the exciting part. You know, we get to dig into that in the future. I am passionate about pursuing that myself as I continue my education. But I know intuitively what the data is already going to say. And I could be wrong, but in my life experience, I have tested these coins enough to see people's bodies respond. In other words, if someone is a introverted type and I push them to be extroverted, I can see their bodily response. I might not have a heart measuring tool or a hormone, be able to draw their blood and measure hormones in that moment yet, but I know through their response that they're in a manic state. This is how you type people. When you push on their demons or their unconscious, underworked functions and parts of their psyche, there's going to be nervous system activation. So while we don't have it in the sensory yet, the intuition is very strong. And this is why ops, I think, is one of the best psychology tools that we have. It helps us to start building the framework of human nature so that we can start to differentiate clearly what is nature and genetic and nervous system versus what is nurture and how does that impact that base package or programming, which is really exciting. I mean, this conversation of nature and nurture has been a conversation going on for a long time in the psychology community. So these are the few thoughts I had. I just wanted to share why I think objective personality is such a powerful tool, and why I believe so deeply in it. It is a deep rabbit hole, but man, is it a good one. It is so powerful. And you know what I love? I love that Dave and Shan are not academics, and that they just discovered it grassroots, out in the world, doing business, right? Boots on the ground, real life. Because I think a lot of times in academic spaces, we can be blinded by our preconceived notions, and everybody is subject to that. But I just think it's really cool that ops started where it did. So I'm super excited about the future of ops. I am a huge component. I'm lucky that I get to process a lot with Dave these days. Yeah, I would encourage you, if you haven't been typed, I would encourage you to get typed by Objective Personality, just for your own personal growth, if nothing else, your own awareness, and your ability to see the world more objectively. Seeing things more objectively is really powerful. I mean, to me, that is the definition of spirituality. We are subjective in our biology and by nature, and getting closer to God or the universe or whatever you believe, it's about expanding to a more objective reality. That's what growth is. It's breaking out of the ego. This is what all the traditions talk about, Buddhism, Christianity, everybody. We all know that our ego and our flesh, or whatever you want to call it, leads us away from truth in a sense. It has its value. Being divided, egoic beings allows for expansion. But the cost of that is that we have forgot our true identity, which is oneness and connectedness. And OPS is one way to see that practically, that we do really need everyone else, that in and of ourselves we're incomplete. We're just one piece of the overall ecosystem. And OPS is just a really fun way to mine out what those different pieces of the ecosystem are, and to just see more clearly the bigger picture of the universe. So if you haven't been typed, you can go to Objective Personality Typing or objectivetyping.com. I think they'll both work. Highly recommend. You'll get a profile from Dave about what your personality is, and I think you'll get a heck of a lot of clarity on yourself. Now be patient, because learning the terms of objective personality takes time. But if you need any help with this, feel free to reach out to myself. I'm happy to talk you through some of the coins if you'd like. If you have any questions, or you think I could make any videos about this, I'd love to. I love talking about this. Also, you can go to Dave and Shan's YouTube channel, Objective Personality, and there's tons of videos on these different coins. They have an ebook on their website. There's tons of good info. You can get it if you just go look for it. So highly recommend. As a tool for self-awareness, Objective Personality is top-notch. So check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.